time, some people run from it. But here in Martinsville, it's actually what they race for.
And it all kind of worked out for me there.
Because when you win this race, you not only earn yourself a piece of history,
I don't even know what to say.
you become a part of it.
I don't think he can get to him. He tried.
Here, every second counts.
Glenn, I'll bet he likes this place now.
Which is why we don't have another minute to lose. Another Around the Track starts now.
NASCAR's run across Virginia has reached its final stop of the spring, and it might be the biggest test yet. Welcome inside Around the Track. I'm Carla Gebhardt. He is Gabe McDonald, and Gabe, the paperclip, it awaits.
Yeah, Martinsville Speedway is one of the toughest tracks to move around because there is no room, and we're going to break it down with someone who is getting his first crack at it in a Cup car. Driver of the Stewart-Haas Racing #4, Josh Berry.
Yes, that's right. Plus, the man who's everywhere in NASCAR, truly, Alan Cavana, going to join us shortly. But first, it's one last ride for a short track, at least for a little bit. But it's not just any short track. It is truly the shortest. Many call it the half mile of mayhem, and there's reason for it. Not much room to pass, which makes qualifying and track position all the more important. Expect extremely tight pack racing, and if you find yourself in trouble, well, it's nearly impossible to find your way back out after going a couple of laps down. Now, tire wear not going to be an issue like it has been on the short tracks in the past couple of weeks, but if you can find a groove and pack in some speed, drivers might get into each other's backs with a not-so-friendly push. So let's let the wheelmen explain.
What I love about Martinsville is just how tight the racing is. You know, we have some racetracks where it seems like we get really spread out, but that never happens at Martinsville. And, you know, that hurts some feelings along the ways. I've been on both sides of that.
The technique that I use around that racetrack, understanding, you know, placing yourself 6 inches left or right of that curb, just kind of really plays a big factor in how your car handles and how you can get just a little bit of speed out of it. I mean, the field's going to be really close this weekend. I think it's going to come down to track position, pit stops, all those things that we had this weekend. It's going to come down to the same thing.
Really important place for decades, and I think that every time we go there, I think there's an emphasis to run well, but especially this year.
All right, well, here's Martinsville by the numbers. As we told you, it's just over a half mile of asphalt, 400 laps over 210 miles during the race, 12 degrees of banking in all turns. Now, the number 5 is big for number 11, who we just heard from. Denny Hamlin has 5 Cup Series wins here, with his latest coming back in 2015. However, maybe you don't want to be number 1 coming into the weekend. It's actually been a decade since someone on the pole won a race here at Martinsville. For what it's worth, though, Joey Logano, he's the active leader with 5 poles here at the track. 11 drivers in the field have wins at the paperclip. And how about this? $7.6 million is on the line at Martinsville. A small track with a big purse.
It is time now to go trackside with our reporter at Martinsville Speedway. Let's welcome in Jermaine Farrell here right now. He is at the track. And Jermaine, I mean, a lot of hype going around Martinsville because this is already the 3rd short track that we've seen in the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. And so these guys are kind of getting used to things, but this is the paperclip. I mean, one of the shortest tracks on the schedule. What are track conditions like right now, and how much action is at the track?
Well, the interesting thing is, I mean, from all our cool meteorologists we have out there, they're talking about in the 60s, which is roughly about the temperatures we normally see in the spring race in Martinsville. But if it is cold, obviously you're talking about tires, because obviously the warmer the track, the more that the rubber can take the grip of the tires. So that's really a big key. But again, it's more not necessarily weather at Martinsville. Again, it's if you've never drove on this track, that's one thing that it takes time to get it going. It is more of just more experience getting laps around here. And of course, you know, Carla, this track is a throwback. Think about this. This track is the oldest track on the circuit. It's 1 year older than NASCAR itself. And there's a lot of history, a lot of tradition. When you look at this track, they call it the Wrigley Field of NASCAR. So it's a special place. And the biggest thing is, you know what they want, Carla? They want that grandfather clock, the iconic trophy. This is the 60th year they've given out that grandfather clock, an anniversary that they've had here. H. Clay Earls, the track founder back in the day, started that tradition of giving out a grandfather clock. So no other track has a trophy as special as that.
Well, Jermaine, we appreciate your time today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, now let's bring in a man who is no stranger to Martinsville. He's the big man at the little track. He's on MRN, PRN. He's back here on Around the Track, basically the Roy Kent of racing.
Really
He is
are.
Alan Cavana. And Alan, this is one track that really doesn't mess around.
Not at all. And it's so cool that this place has the tradition. This track is older than the word NASCAR when you think about it. It is the Wrigley Field. It is the oldest of the old school. So to think of all the tradition that goes into this track, all the people that have won there, all the drivers that have raced there, you really get that big trophy with the clock that to walk away with it. Nothing better than Martinsville.
I mean, it's really amazing that they can fit the haulers, the garage, and all the fans inside this little bitty track. But this place has created a lot of historical moments in the sport as well. But fans really love this racetrack.
Absolutely, because it's one of the few short tracks on the schedule. And what do fans always clamor for? The short tracks of NASCAR, right? Because you have to use that bumper. You have to use a little aggression to get that driver out of the way, especially in the modern day with this new next-gen car. Track position is everything. Passing can be tough. So when you need that little bumper to help you move someone out of the way, they're going to use it. We see the highlights here. This happens every race. Sorry, Ty Gibbs. You're out of here, rookie. He's not a rookie anymore. He might be a threat this weekend.
Yeah, we got to talk about, speaking of Ty Gibbs, that team as a whole. We're going to talk about Denny Hamlin, but JGR, it seems like everybody is really trying to catch up to them. 4 drivers in the top 6. Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin already have wins. What's made them so good so far this season?
They've just been on it. Remember, they got a little nose job, a little nose work to their car. It's a different Toyota Camry this year, and it's really benefited them so far, especially the JGR Toyotas. Look, Christopher Bell has the win in Phoenix, probably should have won at COTA. Denny Hamlin won at Bristol, and then he won again at Richmond. Martin Truex Jr. has been right there for those races. You expect them to do good again, and we mentioned Ty Gibbs, no longer a rookie. He'll be right there as well, probably the most consistent out of all of them.
Let's go further in depth now to Denny Hamlin. Now, Denny wants this discussion to go away, but we got to go back to Richmond and the restart. Ooh. Now, listen, he was in that position because of his pit crew, right? Getting out on pit road first. But, I mean, is NASCAR going to have to start regulating these restarts? What's going to happen?
They're really going to, they're going to have a microscope on the restart this weekend because NASCAR got caught looking last week, or not looking, right? You can say they missed it. Denny Hamlin jumped, NASCAR missed the call. So they're going to have a microscope just looking at every single restart. But look, the leader still has the advantage on the restart. It still comes down to who has the skill, who can get a little jump, just maybe not as early as Denny did. But look, Denny's holding the trophy. Denny has the big check. That's what matters.
He didn't lay back like the other drivers did.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Now, we talked about the Toyotas, but the Fords kind of struggling this year. They've done well qualifying, but it really hasn't translated into success getting into victory lane. How can they get over the hump? Because they also have a new body this year as well.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It hasn't worked out like it has for the Toyotas having that new body. Last time we were in Martinsville, though, a Ford went to victory lane. That's an important part because Ryan Blaney was able to win and kind of catapult himself to a championship. But Fords are 0 so far this year when it comes to getting to victory lane. Joey Logano last week in Richmond, that was a bright spot for the Fords. They finished second. He was right there. That's what the Fords needed. RFK, Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, they are right there. But as a whole, the Fords need something. They need a checkered flag.
Blaney would love to win that race again, and of course Logano would as well. Alan is going to stick around, but coming up next, we're talking to Josh Berry, but he's actually trying to change his name to Roy.
Really a challenge, right? A big challenge for myself and a team all working together for the first time.
The challenge may be big for the number 4 team of Stewart-Haas Racing, but it's a challenge that they're embracing. Hear from rookie driver Josh Berry on how they've experienced success this season.
It's a bad day to have a bad day, but this made it worse. Coming up, we'll show you some of NASCAR's most epic meltdowns and why we're even talking about it. And of course, before you watch a race, there's the pre-race show, and it takes some TV magic to get it done.
That's right. We're taking you behind the scenes when Around the Track continues.
Now, you don't see this every day. Last week's Wreck of the Race, Xfinity Series style, Joey Gase and Dawson Cram get turned. Gase is livid with Cram, and we might as well just sign him up for football because look at this. He takes off the bumper, leads his receiver in, rips it off, and just straight up chucks it at him. Yeah, he got fined $5,000. He'll still be racing, but you can't do that. Now, Alan, this is a good meltdown. What is one of your favorites that you've seen since you've been covering the sport?
That might be the top, but last year, we just have to go back to last year for one of my favorite meltdowns. Driver Josh Williams in the Xfinity Series. This was at Atlanta. He was dropping some debris on the track, and so NASCAR said, you gotta come in. He said, you want me to come in? Come get it. He parks the car on the start-finish line and just gets out and walks himself back to the pit road. So NASCAR had to go and get the car, stop the race. It was a whole ordeal. They actually suspended him for a race. He said it was worth it in the long run. He has moved on to bigger and better things. And guess what? Peace, y'all. Everyone knows Josh Williams' name after that. That was my favorite meltdown.
That's pretty much like the ultimate mic drop. Now, going back to Gase, he was able to really capitalize on this and even getting a bumper sponsorship going into Michigan. What do you make of that, just being able to turn something into turn nothing into something, rather?
You really have to, especially at the back of the field. The other driver involved, Austin Cram, he made a T-shirt. Joey Gase made a T-shirt. They do a lot of stuff for a charity called Donate for Life, and it was all going toward that, a lot of the proceeds that come from those T-shirt sales. So again, making something good out of something bad. But what an arm on Joey Gase to be able to do that.
Yeah, I might need to practice my arm.
Right? I mean, who knew Joey Gase had that?
Well, now let's send it over to Carla with more in this week's Garage Confidential.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, from Joey to Josh, let's talk about Josh Berry in the Cup Series, driver of the number 4 for Stewart-Haas Racing, taking over the seat for a retired Kevin Harvick and trying to really make it his own. And so far, Berry's done a pretty good job at that, currently leading the rookies in points. But a win this weekend would mean more at Martinsville. And Berry's going to tell you why in this week's Garage Confidential. Season. We talked to you before the season started, before the Daytona 500, but now 7 races in, going into Martinsville this weekend. Just tell us a little bit about the experience at the Cup Series level. Are you enjoying it so far?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think we've had some ups and downs through our season, but definitely the last few weeks we've seen a lot of progress from our team and coming off some really good runs at Bristol and Richmond both. So definitely makes us excited to get to Martinsville this weekend.
And as far as the points are concerned for the rookies, at least right now, you're leading in those points. It's been a true testament, I'm sure, to your team surrounding the 4 car, but just how do you feel about the way the season's gone so far?
Yeah, I feel okay about it. I knew that going into this that it was going to be difficult, right? The Cup Series is very, very competitive, so I know that it would be really a challenge, right? A big challenge for myself and a team all working together for the first time. But I feel like we've made some great progress throughout the year. Obviously, I've got the cars handling better, more to fit me, and we're definitely moving the needle the right ways.
Now, we were going to try to talk to you ahead of Richmond, but I think the schedules didn't work out because you had testing in Sonoma. But everybody I talked to said, no, you've got to wait and talk to him ahead of Martinsville. Obviously, you got your first Xfinity Series win at Martinsville, so that track's going to hold a special place in your heart. But you love this track, and you're excited for the race this weekend.
For sure. I mean, Martinsville's definitely a favorite of mine, right? I think even obviously getting my first Xfinity win was just a huge moment for my career in general. But even dating back to short track racing and the late model car, winning the late model stock race there a few years ago was a big moment in my career too. So it's been a good place for me. And it's one that I always feel comfortable coming to, and hopefully that'll translate to the Cup Series.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., your old owner, now friend, kind of mentioned that you were a dark horse to really follow in this race for Martinsville this week. Do you feel that? And because of that win, do you go into this race with maybe a little bit more confidence than normal?
I think our confidence is definitely higher. I think obviously on the short tracks we've been fast, so that's encouraging to continue that on to Martinsville. Bristol and Richmond are obviously different tracks, but they're still short tracks and take a similar package. So we feel like that what we've learned in those races has translated, and we can put it towards Martinsville. And like I said, that's probably out of the Cup Series, that's probably a track that I've got the most experience on.
I think I saw a video where NASCAR posted some drivers describing Martinsville in a couple of words, and everybody was maybe complaining about some of the track conditions, how close everything is. But you were like, this is so much fun. I love this. Describe to fans kind of the difference that Martinsville brings. The track is a little bit different than other short tracks.
Just the track itself, right? Everybody calls it the paperclip for a reason, right? Like the corners are so tight, there's so much braking, and I think back to years past, especially even when I was a kid, right? Just the contact, the beating and banging, the racing that puts on there, that Martinsville can provide such a great show. It's just such a unique track. There's nothing else like it. It's been in NASCAR for as long as NASCAR's really existed, so it's just always just really prestigious place to go race at and win at.
We mentioned kind of the rookie standings, at least right now. Do you have any personal goals as far as that's concerned?
Well, I think winning the Rookie of the Year definitely is a goal for us, right? And this is a strong class with Zane and Carson as well, so we don't feel like it's an easy task either, right? And I think for us, we just really at this point want to just keep getting better and keep scoring points. If we keep scoring more points and running up front, I think that we'll be able to have a really good chance of winning that Rookie of the Year, which would be a cool accomplishment for us in our first year.
Thanks to Stewart Haas Racing for having us. Now, for years, Hendrick Motorsports has been the standard bearer of NASCAR, and in Martinsville, they're turning red. We're going to show you why next.
Ever wonder how NASCAR on Fox gets all those cars inside the studio? They actually don't. It's all CGI, and we'll show you how they do it when Around the Track continues.
It's a big anniversary on race day for Hendrick Motorsports, the 40th anniversary of the first Cup Series win for owner Rick Hendrick. In 1984, Jeff Bodine won at Martinsville, and that win really kept the lights on. The team was about to fold, but that win kept them alive. And to celebrate that win, all 4 Hendrick cars are going with ruby paint schemes this weekend. A Hendrick legend, Jeff Gordon, will also join Hendrick and Bodine as Grand Marshals. Now, Gabe, we know a little thing about TV magic, but in the world of NASCAR, there is only one king.
Yeah, our friends over at Fox gave Michael said a behind-the-scenes tour of one of the coolest studios you will ever see.
Everything is a what have you done for me lately.
When it comes to the entire FS1 race day crew, what you see really is what you get.
It was only a 312-lap race.
This is a sport that we know and we love.
I think whoever is quick at the beginning of the race, that might not be the car at the end.
We've lived this, so the conversations, I think, come very easily to us.
They definitely need the luck.
Larry McReynolds, Jamie McMurray, and Shannon Spake have a kind of camaraderie that can't be faked.
Later, I'm glad that you mentioned Christopher Bell.
Well, they make it look easy. The truth is, it's really not, even after doing 6 years of shows together.
We want things to be spontaneous, but you also have to have some structure too, because we're trying to do a lot in a pretty short time as far as our air window.
Is someone watching?
That structure is actually shaped a full 6 days before they hit air. A team of more than 50 people helped create the content. Then on Sunday, hours before showtime, it's all presented in an open discussion in which it's decided what stays.
The track is different, the surface.
And what goes.
You had, I don't know, 8,000 or 9,000 concrete bleachers on the back, and that was it.
I think it is important that everyone in the room has a voice, and because every piece of the show is helping tell the story.
Nice to officially meet you, David.
By the time they arrive in studio, there's a plan in place. However, there's also an understanding it all can change.
Sometimes you're in a situation where the show has to collapse or expand.
Everyone has to be flexible. Fortunately, the real star of the show has that down to a science. Hopefully we're not ruining the magic, but that big spacious garage it looks like the crew is broadcasting from is actually a big spacious green screen, much like this one. Now up close, it's not much to look at, but on TV, they can do just about anything.
Regan Smith is standing by.
One segment we can start in front of a big window, and then we can go to the balcony. It just gives us versatility.
In turn, it makes their job a little more fun. And unlike a background,
If that goes home and plays into the living room,
that is something that's as real as it gets.
that's the most important thing.
You're clear, sir. All right, thank you.
TV magic indeed.
Thanks, Mike. Well, if it is a Virginia-based track, then Denny Hamlin is sure to be a favorite, and he is again in Martinsville. But is he the top dog, odds-wise, going into the Cookout 400? You'll find out. Plus, our victory lane locks. Those are next. One thing left to do, and it is our victory lane locks. Now, for the record, Denny Hamlin is the Vegas favorite leading into the week at 5-1. So, Alan, are you going with Denny or somebody else?
I am not going with Denny. I'm going with the JGR car, though, because they have been awesome. So let's look. At Martinsville, you get the clock to win. I'm going to ask my watch. What? What? It says, because I'm wearing purple, I'm picking a driver in a purple car this weekend. That's Christopher Bell. He's in the Yahoo car. He's going to win this weekend. He's come close to winning before. He's won already this season. Probably should have won at COTA. I think he goes and wins Martinsville again.
All right, we got one Toyota down. I'm actually going with a Chevy. Give me Chase Elliott. It's a big weekend for Hendrick. We all know Martinsville was his return race last year after his injury. He's gotten better the past few weeks with the top 10 at Bristol, top 5 last week at Richmond. Of course, special week with Hendrick celebrating the Ruby anniversary. I think the comeback story for Chase Elliott starts now. 9 top 10 finishes, 4 of them being top 5s. Of course, won the playoff race here in 2020 and route to the championship. So I like Chase to get into the checkered flag. The comeback starts now for number 9.
That's kind of a dark horse pick, even though it's one of NASCAR's favorite drivers.
Yeah, hasn't been doing great, but that would blow the roof off the place.
It would.
Chase Elliott won.
Yes, it would. Well, you guys have picked drivers who have won here in the playoffs. I'm picking a short track master who may or may not have a vendetta. It is Martin Truex Jr. Martin Truex Jr. led 228 laps last week. He also has 3 wins in Martinsville, the last one in 2021. Guys, I think he's going to be extra motivated, right? He had a good car last week. Just didn't come out on top. I think he's back in victory lane on race day for the first time since July of last season. It's been a while.
What if it comes down to that last pit stop again? Just like last week, they didn't get him out front.
His pit crew better be ready. That's
the
what
thing.
I'm
I
saying.
mean, you got to have that money stop there at the end. So we'll see if it plays a part in this week's race.
All right, well, that's going to do it for Gabe McDonald, Alan Cavana. I'm Carla Gebhardt. That's going to do it for us around the track. Enjoy Martinsville, and we will see you next week ahead of Texas.